Thinking about living in Italy for a few months or even longer? I've been here for nearly 4 years now, and these are the tools that have saved me time, money, and a lot of confusion. Whether you're relocating, studying, or working remotely, I've got you covered. Ciao a tutti, I'm Anthony. I moved to Italy in 2022, and I've been to all 20 Italian regions. I help people navigate Italian life through my site, anthonyinitaly.com. This isn't theory, these are tools that I actually use every day. By the way, in this video I will not be talking about citizenship or visas or healthcare, all of which are pretty complex topics. This is assuming that you have a legal means of staying in Italy for your desired amount of time, whether it's through some kind of visa, digital nomad, student visa, work visa, retirement visa, blah blah blah, or you're an EU citizen. If you do have Italian ancestry and you're curious about getting an Italian passport through your ancestry, I have resources for that down in the description. Another thing too, I will not be talking about paying taxes in Italy, which is also a very complicated topic. It depends on the person, depends on the situation. Don't assume anything. Don't assume because you're in Italy for less than 183 days, you will not be paying taxes. In general, that's the case, but there are plenty of exceptions that I can point to. All right, let's get into it. First up is Google Fi. Now, why did I sign up for Google Fi? Because I wanted to maintain my US phone number. I've had the same US phone number since I was 14 years old. When I got my first phone, it was a blue Moto Razr, and it was awesome. Man, I miss those days. Basically, having a US number allows you to still be able to log into your banking apps, trading platforms, anything that requires a login with a one-time passcode for two-factor authentication. You log in with your password and then they send you a 4-digit code to your phone number. Those usually don't work with voice over IP things like Google Voice. Google Fi, on the other hand, is just like, AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, etc. It's an active phone number and it's an eSIM. Basically, while living in Italy, and really this works pretty much anywhere abroad that Google Fi has service, I leave my Google Fi eSIM turned off pretty much all the time, and I rely on my data from my Italian SIM card for my phone calls, etc., my data in Italy. But I leave the US eSIM, the Google Fi eSIM, off except for when I need to log into my bank. I turn it on, log into my bank, it sends a one-time passcode to the Google Fi eSIM, and I get that and I can log in, and then I turn it back off. I also use it when I go back to the US for periods to visit. I turn off the Italian SIM card, I turn on the Google Fi US SIM card. I can just use my phone like normal in the US. Data, phone calls, text messages, all that stuff. They say in their terms that if you're using data on Google Fi abroad, outside of the US for more than 90 days, they'll shut off your data. And that has happened to some people, but I've been using it for 2 years now, and I've not had that happen because I turn it off most of the time. I've never been continuously using my Google Fi SIM card abroad outside of the US for more than 90 days, so it's never been an issue for me. It costs, at the time of this video, it's about $25 with fees for the base rate. The more data you use, the more that you pay. But if you're just abroad and you just want to have it just for the one-time passcode, it's about $25 a month, which does kind of suck to have to still be paying that every month if you're using it for such a minimal amount, but I found it to be necessary. I tried to go a year without it, doing Google Voice. It just didn't work, and I found this to be the best method and the most flexible. If you want to get a $60 credit for Google Fi, you can hit the link down in the description to sign up. Also, regarding Google Fi, you want to activate that before you leave the US. You cannot activate it from abroad. By the way, there's a link in the description to sign up for all of these things. Okay, now, Google Fi is talking about having a US number. What about getting data and being able to make phone calls, etc. while you're in Italy? There's a few ways you can go about this. For shorter term things, like if you're going to be going to Italy for maybe a month or two, there are services like Airolo, which offers eSIMs for short term. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than a traditional Italian SIM card, but it is going to be the most user-friendly because they cater to foreigners, so it's going to put everything in English. And they work in a lot of different countries. If you want to get 15% off an Airolo SIM, I've got a link in the description. But again, this is going to be more expensive, easier, yet more expensive than if you're going to get a traditional Italian SIM card, which I will discuss next. What about an actual Italian SIM card? There are a lot of companies out there. This isn't a thorough review of every single one because I haven't used every single one. The big ones are Vodafone, TIM, Windre, I think. Those are kind of like the AT&T, Verizon, etc. I use one called Very Mobile, which is basically a budget SIM provider in Italy, and honestly, it's worked very well. I'm paying about $10 a month, and I'm getting about 150 gigs. It might be up to 250 now. I don't know. I never use the full amount. Customer service is kind of garbage, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's like one guy at a desk that just handles all the customer service requests, but I very rarely have had to use the customer service because I only use it when you're switching to a new phone. So if you have a phone number with Very Mobile and you need to get a new phone, you can't just manually switch it over. You have to submit a request and it takes a bit of time. It's a little bit clunky. All of their stuff is in Italian, so if you don't read or speak Italian, it can be challenging. You need a Codice Fiscale to sign up for just about anything in Italy. More on that later. You also need to know somebody with an active Italian phone number so that they can receive a confirmation code for you to activate your very mobile SIM. Also, you have to do like a video verification. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's not the most straightforward. It's not going to be as easy as something like Airlo, but it's so cheap. It's 4G and 5G depending on where I am. Sometimes I turn off the 5G because it uses more battery, but the connectivity is very good. It's fast. The customer service is only an issue when you need them, which is just switching phones or activating a new one. But in terms of just having an eSIM on a phone, I've had no issues. Very mobile. 4 stars out of 5. The next one is WhatsApp. This is very obvious for those of you who are already using it, but for those of you who are not, you need to get used to WhatsApp now. Coming from the US, we basically don't use WhatsApp. I don't understand because we're living in the 1980s. We're still like sending things on faxes and stuff. iMessage, SMS, RCS, all that stuff. It's just this mixed bag of insecure nonsense. WhatsApp is the way to go. I know it's owned by Meta, which a lot of people don't love, but all of your messages are encrypted. Facebook, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, he's not reading your text messages. He cannot do it. That's the way people communicate. Old people, young people, businesses, doctors. People literally will text their doctors on WhatsApp in Italy. It's just the way to go. Get used to it. It's how you make reservations at restaurants. It's how you can book tours. It's how you can exchange numbers with the love of your life and then fall in love and get married in Italy. You never know what could happen. It hasn't happened to me yet. You need some kind of VPN. I use ExpressVPN. I've had no issues with it. 4 years now. It's been very easy to set up. It's very stable. Why do you need a VPN? You need it so that you can log into certain platforms that you need to be in the US to log into. So some kind of banking platforms or a lot of streaming services like HBO. A lot of times you can't log into that while you're abroad. It's only a US streaming service. So you have to be in the US to access it. If you're addicted to what is that show? Game of Thrones, and you want to watch that while you're in Italy, you need to have a VPN so that you can log into HBO and watch it while you're here. I use ExpressVPN. I've been very happy with it. Link in the description to sign up. This is another one you might not expect. It's going to be some kind of noise canceling software. If you do a lot of video calls, you're going to be in noisy cafes and bars, etc. This can be helpful if you don't have noise canceling headphones. Sometimes they can be hit or miss. I use crisp.io. There's a free version that gives you up to 60 minutes of calls a day with noise canceling, and it works very well. It uses artificial intelligence to cancel out the noise, etc. You can cancel out the noise on the other end of the call, the person you're talking to, or on your end if you're in a noisy bar so they don't hear all the background noise. It also does transcripts and call recording. I really like Crisp. All right, next is Wise. You need a Wise account. This is what I use to move all of my money to euros if I'm sending money digitally. So if I'm getting cash, this is something else, which I'll get into in a bit. But Wise is what I use to pay my rent, to pay some of my bills. If I need to pay somebody in euros digitally, if I need to wire them money, I use Wise. You need to be able to move money from dollars to euros and vice versa. If you're going to be paying, for example, your landlord or bills or wiring money in euros, you're going to need a way to do that. You can't just send people dollars from Venmo or Cash App. What's the other one? Zelle. They don't use any of that stuff in Italy. You need to be able to use Wise so you can send somebody euros. So you can send money from your bank to somebody else's bank. You're going to pay some small fees, but that's the cost of converting currency. I've been using Wise for 4 or 5 years now, and it's worked really well. Use the link in the description, and you'll get no transaction fees on your first transfer up to $600. This next one has been a lifesaver. If you use a debit card, a US debit card, to withdraw cash from an ATM in Italy, you're going to pay a commission to the ATM if it's outside of your network, which it most certainly will be. What I have found is a debit card from Charles Schwab. It's the Charles Schwab Bank card. This will refund me at the end of the month for all the commissions that I've paid to ATMs. So say I go to one tomorrow and I pay €3 commission for using it. Go to one next week, €5 next week, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the month, it'll add all those up and I'll get a reimbursement deposit into my debit account and my checking account for $16 or something like that. It's really, really amazing. I've been using this for years now. It's about to expire and I need a new one. It's the Charles Schwab Bank card. You need to have a Charles Schwab account to get one. You don't actually have to use the Charles Schwab investing features. You can just have the checking account, which is what I do. I don't know how long they're going to keep that up, but it's pretty amazing. All right, next up, I cannot recommend this enough. You need some kind of password manager. And I'm not talking about a notebook that you have 16 pages of all the usernames and passwords written down, and it's so secure it's under your mattress, nobody's ever going to find it. It's not secure. Having all your passwords written down, what if your house burns down? What if that thing gets stolen? What if there's a tornado and your composition notebook gets thrown into a swamp and eaten by alligators? You're not going to be able to log into everything. Unless, of course, all your passwords are password $12345 which it should never be. You should always add $2 Everybody knows that. When you move abroad especially, you don't want to take that notebook with you. You want to be able to log into any account from anywhere in a secure way. I use LastPass. I've had no problems with it for the last 4 years. It generates a secure password for everything. It's different for every single one. Every one of my accounts has a different password. Too complicated for me to remember, but that's the point. It's supposed to be complicated. It's all stored in one place, so I don't have to think about it. And it's all encrypted. Not even LastPass themselves has access to what your passwords are. They can't see it. I love LastPass. Use it. Link in the description. There's other ones that are probably just as good. I use LastPass. All right, next item that's very important if you're going to be spending extended time in Italy is having a Codice Fiscale, which means a fiscal code, which I know sounds really scary. It does not mean that you're going to be paying Italy taxes just because you have a fiscal code. Think of it like a social security number, just a lot easier to get. Anybody can get a Codice Fiscale, whether you're an Italian citizen or not. You get it through the Italian consulate where you live. Now, the Italian consulate that has jurisdiction over where you live is going to depend. If you're in the state of Georgia, it's going to be Miami. If you're in the state of Oregon, it's going to be San Francisco. If you're in the state of Arizona, it's going to be Los Angeles. You need to do a little bit of research, but getting a Codice Fiscale, get it through your consulate. It can take a couple months, so do this ideally before you go to Italy. You can get it in Italy, but it's a little bit more of a headache if you do it here. Get it through your consulate. It's a unique code for you that you use to sign up for just about everything in Italy. You want to get a SIM card, you want to open a bank account, you want to get a housing contract, you want to buy breakfast. No, not really. But you need to have a Codice Fiscale. It doesn't mean you're going to pay taxes. If you're from the USA and you plan on driving in Italy, you're going to need an international driver's permit. You get this from AAA. It costs about $35 if you go do it in person, which I recommend because it's quickest. You don't need an appointment. Basically, fill out a form. They take a picture, check your ID, make sure you can legally drive in the US. And then you can legally drive in Italy and a lot of other countries. The IDP is valid for up to a year. There are certain rules in place about in Italy, for example, if you become a resident of Italy, I believe once you become a resident, you can't legally drive unless you have an Italian driver's license, which is its own thing, its own exam. It's challenging. People fail it all the time. You don't want to get into that if you don't have to, but you also want to make sure you're driving legally in Italy. So check the requirements, but definitely get an IDP that will open you up to renting a car and driving a rental car in Italy. Look at the rules for driving in Italy. Proceed at your own risk. Italian drivers are aggressive, we'll say that. Next up, a Booking.com account. Why do you need this? When I moved to Italy, part of it was to have an experience in travel. I really wanted to travel and see this beautiful country. I did it mainly using Booking.com. You could use Airbnb. Airbnb, as everybody knows, has private property, so it'll be a private room that somebody rents out, or maybe their whole house or apartment or condo, etc. Those same hosts on Airbnb will also list their property on Booking.com. In addition to those properties, on Booking.com you will get hostels, B&Bs, and hotels, and everything in between. You see it all on Booking.com. I will say the Airbnb interface is a little bit easier and user-friendly, but just the sheer breadth of properties that you find on Booking.com, I much prefer it. Also, Booking.com has the Genius program, so the more you book, the higher discounts you get. Now I regularly get up to 20% discounts because I'm Genius Level 3, which is amazing. Also, the fees that I found on Booking.com are much less than what you see on Airbnb. There's the Airbnb fee, the cleaning fee, the coffee fee, the towel. I don't know. It's too complicated on Airbnb. I like Booking.com, and it saves you a lot of money. Go ahead and start it now because you're going to be traveling. Another thing, very, very important if you're going to be spending extended time in Italy. This is probably the most important thing. You need to learn Italian as much as you can. You don't have to become fluent. Ideally, you come at least a little bit conversational. I promise you, it will make your life easier and it will enrich your experience immensely. How did I do this? 5 months before I moved to Italy, I started from zero. I knew ciao and grazie, and I probably said grazie because I didn't know. I started taking video lessons one-on-one with a teacher 3 times a week. I originally did it through italki, which is an amazing platform for finding teachers. They have different levels, different prices. You can choose, where they are in the world. Any language you want to learn in the world, you can learn it on italki. And doing the one-on-one conversation was truly a game changer for me for learning Italian. After just 5 months, I was able to step foot in Italy and be conversational. Of course, I did a few other things, which I'll get into another video to be prepared with my Italian speaking, but the language lessons, one-on-one with a teacher, live video, were the most important thing. Also, if you want to just connect with somebody directly outside of italki, my friend and professional teacher Julia gives one-on-one lessons. I'll put her info in the description as well. So, quanti anni hai?
Solo uno.
One? Highly recommend you reach out to her and book some lessons with her, and it will truly change your experience in Italy. If you're planning a move or a long stay in Italy, I've got a lot more guides, resources, and tips on my website. Just go to anthonyinitaly.com. Everything I share there comes from real experience living here. And if you want everything I talked about in one place, I made a free downloadable resource guide. The link's in the description. It's totally free, and I keep it updated based on what I'm actually using. Ciao, grazie mille. Alla prossima. See you in the next video.